Well, it's important to study sustainability in the context of not just the place you live, but in the world. And one of the focus areas for students in the School of Sustainability is policy. In particular, the question that they study is how can policy influence sustainability? How can policy make sustainability the outcome for a city or a state or a business or a community? I would venture to guess that the rigor of this course was way more than the study abroad course, because we had to meet both the standards of two universities. What was expected of the Chinese students had to be expected of our students and vice versa.
Books are nice, you can read it on the web all you want, but to actually learn and be able to, as grad students, try to figure out the answers to addressing these sustainability problems, can't do it unless you actually see it and meet the people who are dealing with it. And it's exactly what we did in Hong Kong.
One of the things that you can't learn in a city like Phoenix, or perhaps any city in the United States, is the challenges that we're going to face in the future, especially thinking about population growth and density. Hong Kong is a city of the future. You know, whether we like to believe it or not, this density is going to continue to dominate our world's major cities. Understanding the problems on a different level is really going to help us as sustainability scientists and practitioners in the future be better equipped to deal with the problems that we're all going to face eventually.
You have no concept of the depth when we landed there of the density of people. Over half of the 7 million people, they live above the 15th floor. It's just the transportation system. We went and saw face to face firsthand the water and some issues in the marine life.
So the purpose of the Hong Kong trip was several-fold. One was to expose our students to cities, which is the battleground for sustainability in the future, that was unlike Phoenix. Secondly, the idea was to look at how governance affects sustainability, because the government system in Hong Kong is vastly different than, say, the state or the city system in Arizona. And lastly, and most importantly, was for students to have the opportunity to look at sustainability, in this case urban sustainability, through the eyes of a different culture. It's not just to understand them and study them, but to move from that platform to this is how we might resolve a transportation, a waste and energy, a housing problem in this very dense, complex city.
The solutions focus is, again, it's a key, I think, attribute of the School of Sustainability here. You want to learn something, then do something. Take that learning and make something happen. Fix something, address something.
It was kind of an amazing way to learn about those things. Being in the city, being in the urban center, understanding how the population and the physical aspects of the city kind of work with these different policies. Just seeing it real time was one of the huge things about this course for me.
It was definitely intense academically, but different than what we experience here in a semester, probably because it was such a short amount of time. I think working with the Chinese students really challenged us, the ASU students, to kind of step out of our own perceptions or perceived knowledge of the subject and be open to new ideas. And so that kind of opened the door for a different academic experience, which isn't something you can really experience here in an ASU classroom.
The final products of the course were very detailed, comprehensive posters that stated a sustainability problem for Hong Kong, thoroughly analyzed and researched that problem, presented the research information, and then in a second companion poster presented original, innovative, creative policy solutions and potential impacts of those solutions.
We had 6 different groups, I believe, that had each assigned a sustainability aspect, a challenge. In my case, it was energy. I meant large, millions of people on a small island. We got on the ground and learned firsthand from the people that almost all their energy comes from mainland China, and they're very efficient, but there's just so much there and so much more population coming there that our easy answer from reading the book back here completely changed my idea of the solution before I left ASU to go to Hong Kong. It's completely changed based on walking the ground and seeing those energy challenges there.
I was in the group Marine Management, and in Hong Kong, the main problem there is a loss of marine biodiversity due to development, overfishing, etc. Not having a lot of marine experience here in Phoenix, we kind of relied a lot on our Chinese counterparts to help inform us and let us know kind of some of the dynamics of these issues. And so it was a lot of learning before we could come up with a solution. Our solution for policy was kind of a mix of approaches. We wanted to create more research on biodiversity because that was something that was lacking. Formulate a working group to develop marine spatial planning. It kind of helps identify different uses within an area and try to find cooperation in areas where usage can be shared, or you could trade-offs, things like that.
A number of City University faculty and outsiders came up and quizzed them about their posters and their experience, and particularly the policy problems that they were trying to solve. I had probably a half a dozen very senior faculty at City U subsequently send me emails indicating how impressed they were with the analysis, how amazed they were to find out that it was a 2-week course. They thought it was a 16-week course, how it compared to the kinds of outputs that they would expect from their graduate students alone in a full semester course.
This will help me a lot in that nothing takes the place of real life, boots on the ground, as we say. It's learning. Books are great, online's all great, but when you're talking about dealing with issues that deal with people and people's lives and the next generation of people and the entire earth, you can't take shortcuts.
You can sit in a lecture or sit in a classroom and hear about what's going on in Hong Kong and what very densely populated urban settings are doing, but to be in the setting, to learn it from the people who are doing it in the context of Hong Kong, just really added that extra piece of the course to what we were learning. You can hear about it, but to really see and experience it just adds a whole nother level.
Study abroad has been maligned for good reason. A lot of times it's the travel log. And the principal difference, I think, in this particular study abroad course was this was much more like a university course in another country, as opposed to a field trip to another country. Our students were in the dorms on the City University of Hong Kong's campus, going to class every day at 9 o'clock for 9 hours.
Be blunt, it was tough, and be even blunter, that's the way it should be. A few nights, a lot of late nights in the dorm with folks in their groups, but again, that's a compressed course. We crammed in several months into 2 weeks.
I have recently thought about switching my track in my degree program from society and technology to public policy. So I think that switch has a lot to do with the class, and studying public policy in another country and place and context has really got me excited about studying it here in my home state and where I go to school. My
strong impression reading into the minds of these students is that what they experienced was a game changer for them, that they learned new perspectives, that they saw cities in different ways than they had ever done before.